North Korea has long been considered a closed-off nation. Few countries can or want to join it in political and economic alliances. Those that are close to it are no small players. And if united on a single front, they would pose a new threat to the US, Israel, and European alliances. One of these countries is Iran. Despite being thousands of miles apart, Iran and North Korea have long cooperated, particularly in military and nuclear technology development. Under the pressure of stringent international sanctions, these two nations have found creative solutions through technology exchange and mutual support. Iran, with its abundant oil reserves, and North Korea, with its technical expertise in missile and nuclear technology, complement each other in a mutually beneficial yet controversial symbiosis. This cooperation not only strengthens their positions on the global stage, but also sends a strong message to their adversaries about their seriousness in defending their sovereignty. Here is the dynamic of their relationship.
To put it succinctly, the core reason behind the relationship between North Korea and Iran is that they both share a common formidable enemy. Several experts suggest that the ties between these two countries date back to the Iranian Revolution. However, in reality, their relationship extends much further back. At that time, Iran was still known as Persia and was establishing connections with Korea roughly 1600 years ago. This was through cultural exchanges during the era of the Three Kingdoms of Korea, predominantly via the Silk Road. This is evidenced by various archaeological findings and official records of trade exchanges between the two countries. North Korea, as we know it, came into existence as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea only after World War II. Hence, the official records of their interactions only began post-1945. However, in the early years of the Cold War, around 1947 to 1950, Iran did not have any relations with North Korea, as Iran was then linked with the Republic of Korea, also known as South Korea. Both were allies aligned with the United States, leading the Western Bloc. Meanwhile, North Korea expressed support for Iraq's territorial claims against Iran around 1971 to 1972, even condemning Iran for seizing Abu Musa and the Greater and Lesser Tums. It was only in 1973 that the relationship between Iran and North Korea began to improve with the establishment of diplomatic relations. This period saw the signing of various bilateral agreements relating to trade, cultural cooperation, and news agencies between the two nations. Notably, in 2013, North Korea constructed the Ar-Rahman Mosque within the Iranian embassy complex, making it the only country, apart from Armenia, to have a Shiite mosque without a Sunni mosque. Throughout the Iran-Iraq War, which raged from 1980 to 1988, North Korea positioned itself in support of Iran. This alignment wasn't just in words. North Korea actively engaged in military cooperation by sending medical supplies and artillery ammunition to Iran. A key point to understand is that both countries share similar interests in opposing the influence of the United States and its allies globally. They have also openly shown support for the political rights of the Palestinian people, voicing their struggle and condemning the policies of Israel. They stand against Israeli intervention in Palestinian territories. Adding to the complexity of this situation is the recent news that Iran has launched its fourth-generation Khorramshahr ballistic missile. This missile, boasting a range of up to 1,243 miles, is reportedly capable of reaching most areas in the Middle East, including Israel. Both nations have long been the focus of international sanctions, primarily imposed by Western countries. Most of these sanctions are related to their nuclear programs and military activities, which are viewed as violations of international norms. However, despite their strong relationship, Iran and North Korea do not completely align in their stance on various manifestations of international terrorism. Indeed, both provide military support to Hezbollah in Lebanon and back President Bashar al-Assad of Syria in his fight against ISIS in Syria. Yet their perspectives differ when it comes to conflicts involving the Taliban, Boko Haram, and ISIS in Iraq. North Korea argues that the United States' efforts to suppress these organizations are seen as interference in the internal affairs of Afghanistan, Nigeria, and Iraq. On the other hand, Iran perceives Sunni Salafi extremism as a direct threat to its interests. They have repeatedly accused the United States of not doing enough to eliminate these groups or even of striking deals with them. In addition to their diplomatic relations, there is significant military and technological cooperation between North Korea and Iran, especially in the realm of weaponry and nuclear technology. Since the 1980s, as reported by the United States Defense Intelligence Agency, North Korea has indeed built a reputation for supplying inexpensive, technically unsophisticated yet reliable weapons. Their clientele includes third world countries that lack the resources and time to develop these systems, including Iran. The arms trade relationship between the two countries surged during the Iran-Iraq War and evolved into further military cooperation, including the exchange of nuclear technology. Syria also became involved in this collaboration. During the Persian Gulf War, North Korea is believed to have supplied Iran with a variety of weapons, such as artillery, anti-aircraft machine guns, mortars, tanks, small arms, sea mines, as well as anti-tank and surface-to-air missile systems. Beyond weapons trade, the military cooperation between North Korea and Iran includes the exchange of expertise, particularly in special operations and underground facilities. North Korea is believed to have provided training to Iranian military operators in advanced infiltration techniques. In March 2013, the trio North Korea, Iran, and Syria jointly decided to block the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty, which aimed to establish standards for the cross-border transfer of conventional arms. Further evidence of their cooperation in missile development was revealed by weapons expert Jeffrey Lewis, who noted that the second stage of North Korea's 2017 Hwasong-14 ICBM ballistic missile development bore similarities to further developments in Iran's space launch vehicle designs. It's no surprise then that Iran is often mentioned as being behind North Korea's current advancements in nuclear and missile technology. In 2020, an annual report by the United Nations disclosed a collaboration between North Korea and Iran in the development of long-range missiles. This information was presented by an independent UN panel of experts to the Security Council in February 2021. The cooperation included the shipment of essential parts that took place in 2020. Experts have been monitoring the sanctions imposed on North Korea since 2006. These sanctions were aimed at pressuring North Korea to halt its nuclear and ballistic weapons programs. The UN report asserts that North Korea continues to defy nuclear resolutions and is persistently advancing its ballistic missile infrastructure. Additionally, North Korea has been actively seeking materials and technology for its weapons program from overseas sources. Iran, on the other hand, first faced nuclear-related sanctions in 2018. Investigations by these experts also revealed cases where North Korea acquired ships, sold fishing rights, and violated sanctions by continuing to export coal and importing refined oil in excess of the permitted limit under a 500,000 barrel quota, all done clandestinely. In response to this report, the United States presented satellite imagery and data to show that North Korea exceeded its oil shipment quota. Meanwhile, China and Russia, accused of being major supporters of North Korea, rejected these claims. Iran has long denied any such missile cooperation with North Korea. Despite what seems like a clandestine relationship, the fact is that these two nations are increasingly showing their closeness. For instance, the president of Iran received congratulations from Kim Jong Un on the occasion of the 43rd anniversary of the Islamic Revolution of Iran. In his congratulatory message, Kim Jong Un expressed his hopes for further development of bilateral cooperation in various sectors between the two countries. He also emphasized that the friendship between North Korea and Iran was forged through their joint struggle against imperialism. Kim's expressed his wishes for Iran's success in achieving prosperity and national development. Moreover, it appears that they are also striving to form cooperation in facing potential threats to global security. His statement was made by the Chief of Staff of the Iranian Armed Forces, Major General Mohammad Bagheri, last year. He urged an increase in cooperation between the two countries to promote regional peace and stability and to jointly combat actions that could harm global security. This has led to speculation suggesting that Russia might be quietly forging cooperation with Iran and North Korea. It is suspected that Russia sees the strengthening relationship between these two nations as potentially aiding them in confronting the United States. Western diplomatic sources in Moscow have reported that Kim Jong-nam, the chairman of North Korea's Supreme Assembly, traveled through Russia during a visit to Iran in August, accompanied by a number of military experts. Recently, it has been reported that in the past few months, Iran and North Korea have become two major military supporters of Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. Earlier this year, the White House in the United States announced that Russia had used ballistic missiles supplied by North Korea in its attacks against Ukraine. Additionally, they have accused Russia of engaging in talks with Iran to acquire short-range ballistic missiles. Although U.S. intelligence states that missiles from Iran have not yet arrived in Russia, they believe that a deal is likely to be struck.
However, the closest relationship is with China. As fellow communist countries, China and North Korea cooperate on regional political matters in Asia. They collaborate in military affairs and economic partnerships, with North Korea benefiting greatly from China's status as an economic giant in Asia. Here is the dynamic of their relationship. Danger looms. North Korea and South Korea are teetering on the edge of war. This alarming situation escalated after North Korea launched over 200 artillery rounds at two islands in South Korea, prompting the evacuation of residents and sending shockwaves of panic through their ally, the United States. Meanwhile, as a neighboring nation to the Korean peninsula, China, observing the rising tensions, stepped in with a cautionary word. They advised Kim Jong Un to exercise restraint and avoid any actions that could further escalate tensions, urging a resolution through dialogue and consultation instead. The bond between China and North Korea has been growing stronger recently, a fact highlighted by a New Year's Day phone exchange between President Xi Jinping and Kim Jong Un. Despite the occasional strains, the relationship between these two countries has generally been close and special. This dynamic interaction showcases the complex ties between China and North Korea. The People's Republic of China, or PRC, is often highlighted as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea's, or DPRK's, closest ally. This alliance has deep roots, extending back even before the official establishment of the PRC. Back in 1919, during the period of the Baekhyun government and under Japanese colonial rule over Korea, recognition was given to Korea's government in exile, also known as the Provisional Government of the Republic of Korea, or KPG. Following the end of World War II, Korea was divided. North Korea transitioned into a socialist state under the leadership of Kim Il-sung, bolstered by strong support from the Soviet Union. In contrast, South Korea adopted a capitalist system under the governance of Syngman Rhee, with the United States playing a key supporting role. Then, on October 6, 1949, the PRC and the DPRK took a significant step by establishing diplomatic relations, with the PRC officially recognizing the DPRK as the legitimate authority in Korea, marking a pivotal moment in the history of their relationship. In May 1950, a pivotal secret meeting unfolded as North Korea's supreme leader, Kim Il-sung, journeyed clandestinely to Beijing. There, he engaged in critical discussions with Mao Zedong, the chairman of the Communist Party of China, alongside other prominent Chinese leaders. This meeting centered around Kim's plans for military conflict. The historical analysis of this event is a subject of considerable debate among experts. Some contend that Mao had given his blessing to Kim's plans beforehand, while others argue that Mao was initially hesitant, fearing that such aggressive actions could provoke a response from the United States and potentially drag China into a global-scale conflict. Despite the debate, one thing remains certain: recognizing the strategic significance of the border between China and North Korea to the Communist Party of China, and driven by a deep concern over the security implications of a possible American invasion of Chinese territory, Mao Zedong made the decisive choice to back Kim Il-sung. This support was not merely verbal, it extended to robust military and logistical aid as the Korean War erupted. This assistance from China manifested in several significant ways. Notably, China dispatched the Chinese People's Volunteers to engage in combat against the United Nations Command in Korea. Beyond the battlefield, China played a crucial role in providing sanctuary to refugees and students from North Korea, alongside delivering vital economic support throughout the conflict. Following the armistice that halted the Korean War in 1953, China, in concert with its allies in the Eastern Bloc, led by the Soviet Union, embarked on a mission to offer substantial economic aid to Pyongyang. This effort was aimed at bolstering North Korea's reconstruction and facilitating its economic development in the post-war era. The military intervention of China in the Korean War sparked significant turmoil across the Korean peninsula, eventually culminating in an armistice in 1953. However, this truce did not transition into a formal peace treaty, leaving a lasting imprint on the region's geopolitical landscape. In the aftermath of the conflict, China maintained a substantial military presence in North Korea, with around 300,000 troops stationed there for a period extending up to 5 years. The bond between China and North Korea, cemented by their mutual adherence to communist ideology, remained robust. Yet the dynamics of this relationship have evolved. Following the onset of economic reforms in China initiated by Deng Xiaoping towards the end of the 1970s, China's priorities shifted towards fostering economic growth and pursuing a policy of openness towards the global community. This shift also significantly impacted the relationship between China and North Korea. While China continued to offer political support to the North Korean regime, it also began to broaden its economic ties with other nations, including South Korea. Starting in 2003, China became a participant in the six-party talks aimed at finding a peaceful resolution to the security issues posed by North Korea's nuclear weapons program. These discussions, held in Beijing, saw the involvement of 6 nations: China, Japan, North Korea, South Korea, Russia, and the United States. China condemned North Korea's nuclear test in 2006 and supported United Nations Security Council Resolution 1718, which imposed further sanctions. Following this, China sent its foreign minister Li Jiaoxing to Pyongyang to negotiate with Kim Jong Un to halt the nuclear program. Then, in 2016, after North Korea conducted another nuclear test, tensions between China and North Korea escalated. China, showing its frustration with North Korea's stubbornness, urged the country to commit to denuclearization and to cease actions that could worsen the situation. The United States and China responded by imposing new sanctions against North Korea under the United Nations framework. However, the situation took another turn when the United States also sanctioned several Chinese companies for violating sanctions against North Korea by engaging in secret trades of weapons of mass destruction. North Korea was, understandably, disappointed with China's decision to side with the United States. This led to a cooling of the friendship between the two countries, marking a significant strain in their long-standing relationship. In 2018, a significant rekindling of friendship occurred. Specifically, in March 2018, North Korea's leader Kim Jong Un met with China's leader Xi Jinping in Beijing, marking Kim's first trip abroad since taking on the leadership of North Korea. During this 4-day visit, Kim and his wife were honored with a guard of honor and a lavish banquet hosted by Xi Jinping. It's said that Xi Jinping engaged in negotiations to persuade North Korea to compromise on the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. A year later, in June 2019, Xi Jinping made a reciprocal visit to Pyongyang, which was his first state visit since 2006. The discussions during this visit revolved around the stalled negotiations over North Korea's nuclear program and various economic issues. A month later, North Korea was among the 50 countries that supported China regarding the Xinjiang internment camp crisis and endorsed China's actions concerning Hong Kong. The crisis in Xinjiang involves the Chinese government detaining about 1 million Uyghur Muslims and members of other Muslim minority groups in internment camps, a situation that has deeply troubled the global political community. The international response to this situation has been sharply divided, with some countries supporting and others condemning the Chinese government's actions. Beijing defends its policy, stating that the measures are necessary to combat extremism that threatens the Uyghur minority and the broader community. Then, in October 2019, the two countries celebrated the 70th anniversary of their relationship, even proclaiming it as an unbeatable and everlasting friendship in their quest for socialism. Xi Jinping also vowed to promote a long-term and stable relationship with North Korea, believing this partnership plays a crucial role in maintaining security. Then, a year later, in June 2020, North Korea joined a group of 53 countries supporting the Hong Kong National Security Law at the United Nations. This law introduced regulations criminalizing acts against the government, primarily targeting pro-democracy protesters in Hong Kong who were resisting Beijing's influence over the city's freedoms. Additionally, the law authorized the creation of a National Security Committee in Hong Kong, which would operate under Beijing's direct control, tasked with prosecuting and judging individuals suspected of violating the law. North Korea, along with Russia, also defended China's actions while criticizing the visit by the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, to Taiwan in 2022. This visit was seen as a nod to Taiwan's independence and regarded as a political and military provocation by the United States, potentially disrupting peace and security. As time goes on, their relationship grows increasingly close, now openly involving a third party, Russia. In July 2023, a high-level delegation from North Korea, led by Lee Hong-jong, the first vice chairman of the Standing Committee of China's National People's Congress, made the first significant visit since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic to meet with Kim Jong Un and attend the 70th Victory Day celebrations of the Great Fatherland Liberation War, which included a military parade with Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. During this meeting, they expressed a determination to confront the complex international situation on their terms. Moreover, they firmly resolved to elevate their friendship and cooperative efforts to a new, higher level of brotherhood. One wonders, what does such a high-level friendship entail? Another significant relationship is between North Korea and Russia. Both countries shared a communist ideology in the past. As nations frequently sanctioned and isolated by Western countries, it is natural for North Korea and Russia to draw closer. However, their relationship has its ups and downs. Here is the dynamic of the relationship between Russia and North Korea.
Meanwhile, North Korea, which has been under international sanctions for years due to its nuclear weapons program, requires substantial funding to restart its nuclear program. Russia is likely to offer technology transfers to North Korea's defense industry or some form of economic and energy assistance. Among the agreements, Russia also promised to aid North Korea's nascent space program. According to U.S. intelligence from their negotiations, it is rumored that North Korea will send about 10 million rounds of 122 mm and 155 mm caliber ammunition to Russia. This is quite feasible given that the modern North Korean army possesses a large number of artillery systems, both towed and self-propelled. Among the weapons being shipped is the modern and powerful MLRS, the KN-09, which is said to outperform the HIMARS. Sources say that the shipment of these advanced military assets is scheduled to begin in October. If this deal indeed takes place, experts warn that the weapons sent from North Korea could significantly alter the course of Putin's brutal invasion of Ukraine. The question arises, just how formidable is the KN-09? The KN-09, emerging from North Korea's extensive military development, stands as a formidable 300 mm rocket artillery system. This sophisticated weaponry showcases a dual launch configuration, comprised of 8 rockets neatly arranged in 2 pods, each housing 4 launch tubes. The detailed specifications regarding its dimensions and weight remain shrouded in secrecy and not disclosed to the public eye. In the realm of military technology, the KN-09 is speculated to have drawn inspiration from existing 300 mm MRL systems resembling Russia's BM-30 Smerch, China's WS-1B, or potentially Syria's M302. These models are renowned for their emulation of American designs, particularly in terms of precision targeting capabilities, with a reach paralleling or even surpassing South Korea's Chunmoo arsenal. North Korea's KN-09 represents the pinnacle of their dual rocket launcher technology, a testament to their advancing military prowess. Transporting this formidable weapon is a Sinotruck Ho truck, originally crafted for civilian use in China, but ingeniously adapted for military applications. The true extent of the KN-09's capabilities remains largely enigmatic, veiled in a mixture of secrecy and conflicting reports from government and media sources. South Korea's military intelligence, however, has estimated that the KN-09's 300 mm rocket can strike targets between 112 to 124 miles away, delivering a substantial 190 kilograms warhead. This makes the KN-09 the Korean People's Army's longest-reaching rocket in its arsenal. Strategically, The reach of the KN-09 extends to cover half of South Korea, including strategic locations like the Gyeongdae military complex in South Chungcheong province. It also poses a significant threat to key U.S. military installations, such as the Pyeongtaek Air Base. From a testing perspective, the KN-09's journey from conception to reality has been marked by several notable milestones. Since 2013, there have been 7 reported test launches. The inaugural test in 2013 involved a launch into the Sea of Japan, followed by 4 additional tests in 2014. The year 2015 was particularly momentous for the KN-09, as it made its official debut during a grand military parade in Pyongyang, proudly displayed as a symbol of North Korea's growing military might. In 2016, it was reported that North Korea achieved a launch distance of 124 miles with an altitude of 31 miles. By 2022, the United States National Air and Space Intelligence Center reported that the KN-09 had entered service with North Korea and was under further development. Among all the test trials, it is claimed that the KN-09's range is nearly double that of the 300 mm MLR systems used by China and Russia, such as the A-100 and BM-30 Smerch, both of which have a maximum firing range of about 75 miles. However, the exact means by which North Korea developed this long-range 300 mm rocket remains unclear, and some analysts question the truth of the claimed range of the KN-09 system. Let's re-emphasize the scenario. If the weapons deal between North Korea and Russia materializes, would it impact the conflict situation in Ukraine? Undoubtedly, it would. In the Ukrainian conflict, mass artillery plays a unique role, or perhaps we might even call it the king of the battlefield. Artillery rockets are less complex than ballistic missiles, more reliable, cheaper, and easier to produce. These types of rockets are also difficult to counter as they are launched in large numbers, and air defense systems are generally not designed to intercept artillery rockets. When used effectively, artillery can decimate enemy defenses and provide opportunities to capture enemy territory. True, North Korea's offerings are not high-tech weapons, but they would significantly boost Russia's capabilities in the short term. The reason is this: in the war, Russia has already expended a vast amount of ammunition. Russia fired between 10 and 11 million rounds last year alone. Additionally, North Korea has a large stockpile of artillery shells and rockets compatible with Soviet-era weapons. North Korea's arsenal could help replenish Russia's depleted ammunition supplies, providing a crucial boost in the ongoing conflict. But there's a major concern. What is it? All the information available about the KN-09 or any weapons possessed by North Korea comes from Western sources or its neighbor, South Korea, not from North Korea itself. Even the designation KN-09E isn't the weapon's actual name, and there's a lack of clear data about this weapon. This means it's tough to predict the KN-09's capabilities and how to counter it on the battlefield. Thus, the KN-09 is considered to have the potential to change the dynamics of the war in Ukraine. It's possible that the KN-09 could indeed alter the state of the war, but there's a catch. Many military experts doubt the quality of North Korean weapons, including the KN-09. Reports suggest that the failure rate of North Korean-made weapons exceeds acceptable limits. This could be extremely hazardous if employed by Russian forces, potentially endangering civilians. Hence, there are ongoing calls for North Korea to adhere to commitments not to supply weapons to Russia. Here's the crux of it. The burgeoning partnership between North Korea, Russia, and now China poses significant risks. First, substantial aid from North Korea and China to Russia could prolong the war in Ukraine, escalating the damage and cost of the conflict. Second, China and North Korea might not just be sending equipment and weapon supplies to Ukraine, but could also send military personnel. Third, due to the warm partnership of these countries and their shared ambition to extend their territories, they might decide to initiate wars simultaneously. If that happens, military aid could be divided, as NATO members and the United States would struggle to respond to two wars at the same time. As we touched on earlier, Pyongyang, after years of sanctions over its nuclear and missile programs, needs everything from energy to military technology, all of which Russia possesses.
Lastly, North Korea's role in the Middle Eastern conflict shows its indirect support for Palestine. This stance is influenced by Israel's close ties with North Korea's longtime adversaries, the United States and Europe. Upon closer examination, North Korea maintains very close relationships with many Middle Eastern countries. For years, North Korea has been a supplier of missile technology and weapons to Middle Eastern nations, including Iran, Syria, Libya, and Egypt. But how exactly does North Korea play a role in the Middle Eastern conflict?
North Korea. Universally recognized as one of the most isolated nations in recent decades, North Korea has distanced itself from global geopolitics, shunned globalization, and steadfastly refused reliance on any foreign entities. Yet during the recent skirmishes between Israel and Hamas, North Korea made a statement. They squarely blamed Israel for the bloodshed in Gaza. Even more surprising were reports suggesting North Korea might be aiding the Palestinian group, Hamas, by supplying weapons. This leads us to ask, what exactly is the relationship between North Korea and Palestine? And what role does North Korea play in the Israel-Palestine conflict? Let's delve into this. Historically, North Korea has enjoyed amiable relationships with several Middle Eastern countries. For years, North Korea has supplied missile technology and arms to various nations in the Middle East, including Iran, Syria, Libya, and Egypt. In an attempt to deter this, Israel reportedly offered North Korea a foreign investment of $1 billion for gold mining operations in exchange for halting the sale of 150 medium-range No-Dong ballistic missiles to Iran. During the Yom Kippur War in 1973, North Korea dispatched 20 pilots and 19 non-combat personnel to aid Egypt. In the 1980s, North Korea shifted from direct military opposition to Israel, and instead chose to sell weapons and military technology to Israel's adversaries in the Middle East. However, our focus here is not on North Korea's general relations with the Middle East, but specifically with Palestine. Regarding the relationship between North Korea and Palestine, a glimpse into history reveals North Korea's support dates back to 1966. At that time, North Korea extended its backing to the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO. Notably, Kim Il-sung, the leader of North Korea, shared a close relationship with Yasser Arafat, who was the leader of the PLO during that period. In the Israel-Palestine conflict, North Korea didn't just offer rhetorical solidarity. Starting in the 1970s, they provided tangible military support, including the provision of small arms and military assistance. The aid was not limited to the PLO. North Korea also supported various Palestinian factions, such as the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine and the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Along with arms support, North Korean military experts also trained a number of Palestinian insurgents in guerrilla warfare tactics. North Korea's involvement in the Israel-Palestine conflict began to wane with the fall of the Soviet Union. With diminishing backing from the Soviet Union, North Korea shifted its policy direction from arms export to a more pragmatic stance, voicing robust support for Palestine and vehemently condemning Israel. From then until now, North Korea has remained active in championing the Palestinian cause and condemning Israel's actions in Palestinian territories. In a United Nations General Assembly session, North Korea even declared full support for Palestine's struggle to oust Israel and reclaim its right to independence. Between Israel and North Korea, there are no formal diplomatic ties, and communication between the two nations is essentially hostile. North Korea doesn't recognize Israel and refers to it as an imperialist satellite. Conversely, Israel doesn't acknowledge North Korea, recognizing only South Korea as the legitimate Korean government. Israel stands as one of the most vocal international critics against North Korea's nuclear development. Numerous Israeli officials expressed concerns that North Korea's aggressive nuclear stance indirectly poses a significant threat to Israel's security and the overall stability of the Middle East. Since 1988, North Korea has recognized Palestine's sovereignty over all of Israel, with the exception of the Golan Heights, which they acknowledge as Syrian territory. In contrast, Israel views North Korea and its nuclear program as a global security threat, calling for international measures against the nation. At its core, North Korea perceives the Israeli government as a puppet of American imperialism, and sees Palestine as an oppressed nation fighting for its freedom. Ideologically, North Korea asserts its revolutionary credibility as anti-imperialist and anti-colonialist by supporting Palestine and denouncing Israel as an American stooge. North Korea's backing of extremist Palestinian groups like Hamas is intertwined with the regime's anti-American and anti-West ideology. In essence, an enemy of America and the West is deemed a friend of North Korea. That's the general sentiment. It's an open secret that North Korea has long provided arms and support to Palestine. Though it's believed that North Korea shifted from weapon assistance to a more pragmatic form of support after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, reports suggest that the country continued to supply arms to various Palestinian groups well into the 2000s. Concrete evidence emerged in December 2009 when Thai authorities intercepted a North Korean cargo plane reportedly carrying 35 tons of conventional weapons, including rockets and rocket-propelled grenades. The plane was grounded during a fuel stop at a Bangkok airport. The United States later confirmed in 2012 that this arms shipment had been intended for Hamas. No matter how vehemently North Korea denies its weapons are being used by Hamas against Israel, a wealth of evidence suggests otherwise. For instance, during recent Israel-Palestine conflicts, a circulated photo depicted Hamas soldiers wielding North Korean-manufactured 122mm rocket launchers identifiable by their signature red stripe, a hallmark of North Korean weaponry. Moreover, other photographs and videos have surfaced showing weapons seized by Israel from Palestinian militants, including North Korean F-7 rocket-propelled grenades. These shoulder-fired weapons are typically employed by insurgents to counter armored vehicles. These instances indirectly highlight the likelihood that North Korea's illicit arms shipments serve as a revenue stream to finance its conventional and nuclear weapons programs. Considering North Korea's standing as an internationally sanctioned nation facing economic challenges, these illicit activities provide much-needed funds. By championing the Palestinian liberation movement and anti-Zionism, Pyongyang earned diplomatic status and recognition within the Arab world. This diplomatic rapport is invaluable to the increasingly isolated Kim regime. North Korea's stance also serves to undermine the influence of the United States and the West in the Middle East. In essence, North Korea continues to view Palestine as a comrade in arms. The leadership of both nations still mutually recognize and warmly regard each other, even if North Korea's current solidarity is more pragmatically and ideologically driven.
With all the countries that have relationships with North Korea, everything is based on clear interests. And of course, there are no true friends, nor are there permanent enemies. Be prepared for the possibility that North Korea's relations with these countries could reverse at any time.